Hello everyone and welcome to another edition of PR and More with Nigerian Women in PR. My name is Ronke Giwa Onafo and I'm your host today again. It's been such a delightful, I'll hold on to get more people to join us. Okay. All right, so we have a couple of people in here. Hello and welcome to another edition of PR and More with Nigerian Women in PR. How are you all doing this Thursday? It's Thursday, another brilliant Thursday. Another opportunity to discuss PR and more. You all know that PR and more is PR, right? So we talk about PR, we talk about life, we talk about different career paths. Hi, thank you very much. Not your regular. I like that handle, not your regular. Absolutely love it. Thank you for joining us. And don't forget, you can use the side arrow bar to invite people. Please invite people because we're having an interesting conversation today. We're talking about how to make a career transition into PR. So perhaps you're in whatever career path you're on already, you'd like to transition into PR. You've seen PR in recent times has sort of gained this lovely notoriety that I like. PR has gained a lot of fame in recent times. Before, everybody and their cat used to think they were in PR. Social, but now I like that PR is being distinguished. I don't know if you agree. Let me know in the comment section. In recent times, organizations are becoming more aware of PR, are taking PR more seriously. So it's not just some guy in social media that does PR. There's a totally different PR desk. Executives are becoming more aware of their own PR. So you want to have your anti done right. You don't just go to some social media person who sponsor posts. You go to a real PR person. So I welcome you all to this edition of PR and More. Our guest is Oluwadamilola Ayinde. First of all, thank you very much for coming here. PR and More is an initiative created, ideated by Nigerian women in PR to educate more people, not just about PR, but generally about different things, about life. And of course, that's why we call it PR and More, because it's beyond PR, really. Will indeed educate people and invite your friends in PR that are not in PR, people who have seen people like Tolu Combs and wondering, how does she do it? How can I transition from being customer service rep? Okay, Oluwadamilola is unable to join. I'm wondering why. Let me see if I can request you. Oh, sugar. Okay, Oluwadamilola. Let me see. Oh, sugar. Oluwade. Okay, I have invited you, Damilola. I'm hoping that you can join us. I've invited you, so if you're still in here, please accept my requests. Okay, fantastic. Does he join? Hey!
Hi, good evening.
Awesome. Hi, Damilola. How are you today?
I'm very fine. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Awesome. Thank you so much for, first of all, our network is kind of bad. Oh, sugar. Okay. Let me see if I can switch to a different Wi-Fi. Oh, sugar. A lot of more people are complaining about the network. Can you hear me? Can you see me, Damilola?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, so I'm hoping perhaps it looks fine from here. So I don't know if it's your network or my network. People who are watching, please let us know as obviously things progress. If things are a little clearer from where you're watching, if things are a little clearer, I think it might be your network if you're watching. So let us know, give us the okay sign. If you can hear me clearly, if you can see me clearly, give me a thumbs up so that we can proceed. But while I wait for your thumbs up, I'll read Oluwadamilola's profile. He's a brand communications professional. He helps brands optimize the power of brand communication and social media marketing. He's also the co-founder of Prad Social, a platform for young professionals and entrepreneurs across various industries in Nigeria on a mission to building a diverse community using networking and team bonding experiences. He recently joined ARM Pensions as a brand manager, but spent the last 4.5 years at Fidelity Pensions Managers. At Fidelity Pensions Managers, he led the corporate communications team in implementing its strategy and played a vital role in the business continuity planning committee and the enterprise risk management committee. Oluwadamilola Ayinde holds a bachelor's degree in microbiology and a postgraduate diploma in mass communications from the University of Lagos, Nigeria. Oluwadamilola's passion for communications, media, and social media strategy started from his days at the University of Lagos, Unilag, as a student, correspondent for the Nation newspaper in 2007. That's a long time ago. You're an OG. Now, in the last 11 years, he has developed skills in customer relations, brand and corporate communications, as well as social media strategy by working at organizations in 4 sectors of the economy, which include finance, health, media, telecoms. And these organizations include Fidelity Pension Managers, Pathcare Laboratories, TVC Communications, and MTN Nigeria. He also has a professional certificate in public relations from the Nigerian Institute of Public Relations, NIPR, and is a member of the Leap Africa Alumni Network. Once again, thank you so much, Damilola, for joining me.
Well, thank you very much. That felt very scary. I'm trying to figure out what that was reading
well,
about.
Even me, I'm afraid that, hey, who am I talking to? You don't know. You should be saying you don't know who I am.
Oh, okay. Well, thank you very much for that.
Done a lot. Seems like you've done a lot, Damilola. Well done.
Thank you very much. It's never been a smooth ride all the way, but at least it's been good all the way. Okay, so
I can imagine. Okay, so I mean, you've done a lot of things that I feel that a lot of people confuse for PR. I was saying in my introduction that I like that now PR, people are being more deliberate about the role of PR. But back in the day, I mean, you've done social media. People would think you're a social media department, just handle PR. Or people say you're customer service, just handle PR. What is your idea of how PR has sort of evolved in recent times, Danny?
Yeah, it's amazing because I remember sometime in 2008-9 when I had my first 2008, I had my first taste of PR while in University of Lagos. My notion of PR was just making noise, publicity. We keep hearing that phrase, good publicity, bad publicity is all the same and all that. So that's how it started. But it's evolved. And in the evolution, I'll say this. PR has become a knowledge-driven knowledge-driven profession where people have to know a little bit of everything. So in knowing a little bit of everything, you have to have the skills for whether it's research, social media, because now you have both online and offline PR, and getting those things done, the work, whether it's the work or the actual KPI, which is the language used in 95, you need to know a little bit of everything. So PR has evolved because it's now a 360-degree platform. It's no longer unidirectional, like how it used to be back in those days when people think that publicity is actually PR, which is not.
Yeah, and I know I've read your profile and we've seen how you sort of, it looks like your journey's been, I mean, it's been a long time, but tell us in your own words, how these transitions happened and how you landed where you are now doing PR.
Okay, it's been quite interesting because in the University of Lagos, all I used to do as a class rep was organize events on campus, which was my first taste of events, right? Which is actually a skill. Events plan is a skill you can use in PR. And at that point, while I was in school, I used to write for the Nation newspapers. So I developed some writing skills. I wanted to do something, and I sort of started doing some research on how to write. While doing that, I knew that I needed to do something related to being heard, and also we're talking about being heard vocally and being heard with the pen. So I made a conscious effort to do some research online, and let's not forget this was the time of High Five and all those kind of platforms. So I made a conscious effort to say, this is my direction, this is where I'm going to. How I was going to get there, I wasn't too sure. And then, I mean, when we were in school, we had a lot of motivational speakers come to speak to us. But the irony is I never really had a mentor early enough. What I just did was I did a lot of research, Google. So when people spent more time watching TV, I think I was one of the early birds to YouTube, right? And that really helped me make that decision. So I studied microbiology in the University of Lagos. So by my 300 level, I knew that I was going to move to communication. And along the line, I found out that when I was in school, I had a passion for speaking, not necessarily from the perspective of speaking to a large audience, but speaking with an impact. So what did I do? I registered to join the Leap Africa network, alumni network, or rather Leap Africa. I did a program called Wild Leap Africa. And that actually honed some of my skills, right? Then I also, once I finished during NYSC, so we all know that some of the great PR people started out in journalism. So at the point while I was serving, I joined Treasure FM during my NYSC. And then I knew that I needed to brush up my English language, my writing skills. I need to understand the main thing about English language. What did I do? I used four books I can always, I still remember. I still have those books: Brighter Grammar, Queen's Premier,
Wow.
the likes of Marshall English and First in English. Those books, I went to buy them again during NYS to brush up and brush up. But once I was done with NYSC, came back to Lagos. I mean, there was no job. I enrolled at the National Broadcast Academy, formerly known as FRCN Training School. That decision, initially, my dad assumed that I wanted to be, he felt I wanted to be on radio just for the fun of it. He called us on Sirius. He called some of us, told me, he said, I don't have a direction, microbiology. What are you doing on radio? It doesn't make sense. But why did I go there? Yes, eventually, the ultimate goal was to actually do communication, but the means to get there was to attain some particular skills. Now, going there improved my speaking skills. The amazing thing is that before going there, I used to stammer a bit. So it sort of had this vibe of controlling the way I speak, making me a more effective speaker. Once I was done there, there was an opportunity to either go to a popular TV station or to join the customer service team of the telecoms company, which you mentioned, MTN. And I chose MTN at that point, basically because the TV station was more of internship and I wanted more at that time. But the amazing thing in the 3 years I was at the call center, it brought up, it made me get the most out of those skills that I had. I understood empathy more. I actually understood how to communicate effectively. I understood how to see things from the customer's perspective, whether it's an angry customer, whether it's a customer, what we call irate customers, or whether it's a customer who is an HNI person. So it sort of helped me categorize customers. And that gave me an understanding of the direction of PR. So I took those skills while in the call center. And then I had the notion that for me to get better and make that transition from the call center, I needed to get a job that was closer to it. So what did I do? I said, do I go for professional exams or do I take the perspective of experience? So what you see nowadays is, I mean, you have now, I mean, with platforms like this, you have the opportunity to have amazing mentorship, right? But then you had generic mentors. Now you have niche mentors with platforms like this. And at that time, it was more of generic mentors that we had. And then I decided to enroll for NIPR. Now, I'm not saying that it sounds like it was smooth all the way. It was never smooth because I was trying to do, at that point, I was trying to do so much at the same time. And what I did was I enrolled at NIPR about the same time I enrolled at University of Lagos for postgraduate diploma in mass communication. And at the same time, I was also trying to write CIM UK, the basic course. So with CIM, I was trying to understand digital marketing. With NIPR, I was trying to understand PR. And then get a broad knowledge from University of Lagos. The thing about it is, at the end of the day, one or two of them suffered. I had to procrastinate with one of them because it's never easy running 3 programs at the same time.
Yes.
It's never easy. So let me just quickly summarize this. So as soon as I focused on one after the other at different times, I had the opportunity while in the call center to be the first digital marketer at TVC, which I grabbed with both hands, even if it was for a pay cut. I just wanted the experience, and I was able to reach out to some people on the platform called LinkedIn. My goodness, if you're not on LinkedIn, I don't know what planet you're on.
Yes.
But it's such a powerful platform. So on LinkedIn, back then, 2014, it was a very, very close circle because not many people were on it. So we reached out to people that were already up there to give us some level of guidance. Although there were times where people give you information, it's not up to you to filter what is closest to what you want to do. So I joined TVC. Eventually, while understanding digital marketing, there was also the opportunity to now move a little to brand communication. Now, at that point, I understood that PR was evolving or was going to evolve. There was now going to become online PR, offline PR. There was now going to become using advertising as a tool in PR. So I felt that going to an ad agency would give me some level of experience, which I did. I moved. And so I learned so much in an ad agency, although it was more of an advertising agency. But I was drawn into the communication aspect of things a lot of times, as well as digital. So early enough, I jumped on digital to understand how online PR works and also some basic digital marketing skills. So if you're a modern PR person, you definitely have to have digital marketing skills because you will learn so much from it. It will be a very powerful weapon, whether it's in the workplace or as an entrepreneur, because you don't want to sit down with people in organizations where they would ask, what are you working on? And the only thing you're telling is you wrote this, you wrote that. There's sometimes you need to go that extra mile and tell them about tools you can use to do some research, whether it's Google Alerts, as basic as Google Alerts and all that. So at that time, when I joined Ipr Communications for a short while, there was an opportunity to lead a department for the first time. And I took it. That's the medical laboratory. So at that point, the medical laboratory, it was called corporate marketing. But guess what? 70 to 80% of it was PR. So sometimes human resource professionals sort of modify job descriptions, and those job descriptions may not be at par with the title. So it was called corporate marketing. But at that point, like I said, 80 to 70% was PR because you needed to actually understand the stakeholders in terms of whether it was the hospitals and doctors, whether it was actually the patients, and also using the media to drive PR in a strategic way, which was how there was a radio program, which I also used my skills from the radio school to produce an anchor in terms of the Doctors on Air program while in the medical laboratory. And of course, along the line, because of the knowledge I got from the ad agency, I was able to also apply that in the pension sector. So this is my 5th year in the pension sector, as you mentioned. And it's been very interesting because the space is evolving. Now, I like the fact that in this community, there are people that are beginning to specialize in different aspects of PR. Yes. And it's really interesting because what you do is the skills are actually the same, but what changes is the tactics on how you approach get your work done. So, okay. Like I said, yeah. So I'm listening. You want to say something?
Oh, you don't know. I wanted you to land. Go on.
Okay.
Yeah,
so tactics. Eventually, the tactics evolves with what you're trying to do. The way you do PR in tech is different from the way you do PR in some other aspects, right? And it keeps evolving quickly. And if you are starting out, it's important to understand that yes, there's generic PR, but there are industry-specific ways of handling PR. So, for example, in the pension sector, you can't just do your regular PR without understanding what the regulators want, which is PENCOM. So you need to understand what PENCOM wants. You need to read thoroughly about the regulations and everything about the books. And most PR and communications people in the pension sector would work very closely, and I'm using very closely is enough, but very closely with the legal team and the compliance team in getting PR done. But you will really find out in some other industries, but you need to understand that. So, like I said, it's been a journey. There's something I forgot to mention. If you're taking it you need to take the skills from your former career path and take the ones in common with the new one and try to have a handshake. Now, for example, I made the transition from customer service all the way to brand communication. I call it brand communication because for me, it's a midpoint where branding meets corporate communications and PR. And what that taught me was the skills I attained while in customer service units. I was able to take some of it to PR. It was easier for me to have a basic understanding of what I was trying to do and where I was trying to be, in quotes. So I hope that wasn't too long.
Wow, I mean, that was your life. Your journey has been amazing. Your career path has definitely been an interesting one. Like I said in the beginning, he's done so much, guys. I mean, I wish if we are just joining us, he's just sort of touched on his career trajectory, which I'm sure is still evolving, but it's been so interesting already. He's done radio. He's worked in telecoms. He's worked in newspaper. And the thing is, you've talked about how all of these things, I'm sure, have made you more well-rounded. So that I'm sure there are bits that you've learned on all of the places that sort of helps in PR. But what do you say to people who say, so trying to find that distinction? And for example, a lot of employers, because they know you have all of these skills, start to burden you as a brand communicator with some of this, with writing. You're the one that will do social media and all of that. So what do you say to that? And how do we start to eradicate that from, people asking PR people to do stuff, that obviously doesn't have anything to do with their job, separating their real job to what, the other stuff are?
Yeah, okay. So to answer that, you're right. Along the line, once whether it's your line manager or the HR officer or head of HR notices you have some particular skills that are not really in your job description, they bring it on. They overburden you with it. There's an advantage or disadvantage to that. Disadvantage is that you get overwhelmed. Sometimes if you're not working with the right team, it seems like you're running around like a headless chicken, in quotes. And what that does is it drains you, not just psychologically or emotionally. It sort of reduces your work output in terms of what you're giving back to the organization. But the advantage is that, so for me, there were times where I was drawn into some committees that don't concern PR.
Right.
Risk management, right? Business continuity planning. But guess what? It became very useful. When I was drawn to the business continuity planning committee of my other organization, the only reason I was, it's in some companies in the financial sector, especially, it's a new department, while some other companies is a unit, is a committee. What that did was, it was just pre-COVID. So what you do is you plan for your business in case of bad times, maybe there's a disaster, how do you recover from it rather? BCP, business continuity planning, actually helped me a lot because you need a PR person in there. I didn't understand it before, but you need a PR person in there, especially with regards to crisis management. So that particular part that didn't concern me, I had to do the work. And now I can take those skills based on what I learned before and apply it anywhere. So it's a 50-50, it's a two-edged sword.
No knowledge is wasted.
So, exactly. But it still has to be regulated. So it means that you still have to have that primary job description. And the other parts that doesn't concern you, you only apply it when there's a spillover of what you maybe you're not working on something and all that. But to take you totally away from PR is quite dangerous long term. If it's for a short-term fix, someone is on leave or something, that's fine. But you need to actually set the record straight early enough so that you don't deviate from your career path.
Set the record straight early enough. And I think that's very key because obviously, I guess in the excitement of trying to get into PR, sometimes you want to do everything, but then, like you said, if you don't set the record early enough, even if you yourself do not know how to define your role as a PR person, you will find that before you know it, you have gone away from your job. Before you know, you're no longer doing PR, but you're doing other things as well. For those who are just joining us, thank you very much and welcome to PR and More. Today we're talking to Oluwadamilola Ayinde, and our topic today is how to make that career transition into PR. And Damilola has moved from quite a number of places now into sort of, we call it brand communication is more what you call it. But I wanted to ask, for those who are now in this room now looking to transition, what are the misconceptions that people often have on the outside about PR, especially when they want to transition? What are the misconceptions that you think that, you'd say, hey, slow down, that's not the reality of things really?
Okay, I would say the first misconception is brand envelope. So if you go to the government side of things, especially, people believe that PR is just about using brown envelopes in quotes to settle crisis management or get the news out there, which is quite sad because at the end of the day, PR is becoming relatively more measurable than it used to be back then. And with the coming in of online PR, it's easier to measure conversations in the online space, well, to an extent and all that. So that's the first misconception. The second thing is that, for goodness sake, I have to say this, please, when an influencer puts PR, it may not necessarily mean PR. What he's doing is a part of PR, which is publicity. And publicity is a tool for PR. So people need to understand that it's just a tool, just like advertising in terms of getting things done, social media as a tool for PR and all that. It's a misconception because I feel that with the coming of social media, everyone puts PR. But at the end of the day, yes, you can have the experience, you can have the skill, and you probably can also have the qualification. Some will take the examination route, some will take the experience route. But at the end of the day, people need to understand that not everything about influencer marketing is public relations. Influencer marketing is just a tool. That's what people need to understand. I think those are the basic, most popular two conceptions. And then the other, I think the final one is, it may not necessarily be a misconception. People see PR people in the office and say, you guys don't have a direction. You're everywhere. You're everywhere. Yes, we have to be everywhere. So you have in some smaller organizations, you don't really have a PR person. What smaller organizations or middle organizations do, they merge roles. So you have the brand, they call it marketing in the broad term, and then it's a fight because what happens is you end up doing PR, you end up doing brand management, you end up doing maybe advertising and all that, or media relations, yes, which is part of PR. So people need to understand that PR is PR, and PR is here to stay, and it should be separated from these other aspects of should I say PR, because I see things as PR as the umbrella, and then you now have different tools and different subsidiaries in quotes around it. So that's it.
Yeah. How about the misconception also that PR is only needed when there's trouble? So get the PR guys. What are your thoughts on that?
My goodness. I hope that omit that. So that is I think it's in the last few years, people are becoming more aware that it's no longer like that, but it's still what people do, which is that's crisis management. It's important. People need to understand that you nip it in the bud early because it's cheaper to do that early. It's many organizations don't even have a crisis management plan, and it's very important you have a corporate. So you go to companies, you have a corporate communications policy. Under the policy, you have crisis management plan, separate from the social media policy, separate from. So the PR person is supposed to sit at the head of corporate comms and manage this process. But unfortunately, people don't understand that aspect that you actually said. PR shouldn't be just about, there's an issue on Twitter we need to fix. All the PR people. That's why we're paying them. Yes, well, if you keep paying us privately to do that, we'll fix it for you. Just pay us well. That's fine. But from an organization perspective, it's actually cheaper to nip it in the bud early so you don't end up spending more or above your budget for getting things done.
Right. Fantastic. Thank you so much, Damilola. Now, for those who are trying to transition into PR, you're wondering what skills, because for me as well, I've been in communications for such a long time. So I recently worked with Oluwadamilola, founder of Nigerian Men in PR, for about almost a year. And that was when my eyes opened to what PR people really, I'd heard about PR, but I didn't know what do these guys do? And I realized that, wow, the work is deep. And so for someone out there who is thinking, what skills must I possess? Yes, maybe I can speak well. That's not enough. What skills? I know you did NIPR as well. What skills must I possess? Maybe you can talk to us also about what certification people can get in order to, transition into PR as well. So for those who are joining us, if you have questions, leave it in the comment box. I think it's better if you use the question box so that way everyone can see your question, and then Damilola can also have a go at answering them as well. So if you can, the question box is this question mark right underneath this video, so you can use it, type your question. I'm sure you'd love to have it. But yeah, I'm talking about what skills and certification I should possess if, for example, I'm coming from customer relations, or I'm even coming from the media and I'm trying to transition into PR. What skills, what certification would you say I must possess?
Okay, thank you for that. So I would say that if you can have the skills in addition to the certification, you have an edge. But if you now top it up with experience, you've ticked the three boxes: experience versus skills versus certification. So Nigerians for public relations, no brainer, right? Well, the good thing is that I still don't understand why people who want to start going to PR heavily and maybe study mass communication in university in Nigeria don't join the body on time. You'll find out some people will just go out there and maybe come back and say, okay, yes, I think I want to actually come back to do corporate comms. Then you now start chasing the certifications and IPR and all that. Because there's always an edge if you actually have a foundation and the basics. So you look at Nigerians for public relations, and of course, the other one, which is quite pricey, which is the Chartered Institute of Public Relations, that's UK. And that's because, of course, it's more on the international perspective and all that. Those are the two. But there are obviously others. And then in terms of skills, there's so many skills. I mean, the first thing is that some PR people, you don't have to be the best speaker in the world. Yes, you should have speaking skills, but you don't have to be the best speaker in the world. Some PR people are more of introverts, and they rather do their writing with the pen. They're speaking with the pen. So if you don't have speaking skills, it's not necessary you have it, but you should at least complement for your writing skills. I believe that sometimes if you actually sit down and actually do some more research, you can actually write more effectively. So let me give you an example. People say I'm weird, but I have a Netflix account, right? And I watch an average of 2 or 3 movies every month. But what do? I consume about probably 20 hours of video content on YouTube every week. So I'd rather put on my smart TV and watch YouTube all through. How to do this, how to do that, what's the trend, what platforms am I following? You can get a lot of skills by just watching YouTube, not to talk of improving your skills using LinkedIn Learning. So another thing is from the perspective of improving an important skills, which is knowledge and research. A PR person should know a little bit about everything. Very important. So you ask a typical PR person, and the person should actually be able to comment on current affairs. It's actually an asset because you want to actually have beautiful conversations with the right set of people, whether it's HNI, how do you talk to HNI person? How do you talk to the regular target audience in terms of maybe the second, the B or the C's? But it's important to understand knowledge and research, because what you can use with that will take you a whole long way. And a PR person should actually be able to multitask. Sometimes I don't have the perfect skills in multitasking, but you should actually understand that you need to be able to do more than one thing at the same time. So your brain has to be, should I say it, multifaceted, right? But it's not a deal breaker, basically. So also you need to understand how you can see things from the perspective of the public before you put things out. How can you adapt? How can you read things from that perspective? Because it's important to bridge that gap between the organization and yourself, or whether it's your business and the organization and the customers rather, or whether it's from your business and the customer. So because that little skill can actually add so much value in terms of that area. There are many other things, attention to detail, but what you will now find is that there should be a handshake between your skills, your qualification, and getting that experience. Experience can never be overemphasized, because what that would do is that if you're thinking of moving to a 9 to 5, the HR person is going to look at two things first. The first thing is the HR person is not going to look at your skills first. The person is going to first of all look, before you even have some audience, the HR professional would look at your qualification and your experience. So before you can now actually show your skills, you can show signs of your skills during the interview process, but you need to actually at least start with one, then the other, or have the two at the same time. So that's it.
Okay. Awesome. All right, so we have questions already, so let's go at it. Fab Guard says, what's the difference between PR and brand corporate communications? Because they seem the same.
Okay. So for me, trust me, there are different school of thoughts, different school of thoughts. So when I want to address it, sometimes I put myself, the amazing thing, I put myself in the shoes of the PR professional, which I am, and then sometimes I put myself into the brand communications and perspective. For me, a brand communications professional is somewhere between the midpoint between brand management and public relations, right?
The spokesperson,
brand,
right?
Exactly. So for PR, which I am, I see brand management and with that midpoint, brand communication as a tool for PR. Let me take that again. Right. So as a PR person, like I said, you need to have skills that can actually be a little bit of everything. And being a PR person, you want to climb to the top. You end up being head of corporate communications, head of corporate affairs. That's the lingua you hear in the 9 to 5. You need to at least have a basic understanding of what it is to manage a brand, because the brand becomes your organization. That's your baby, right? And it's important you know what to say, how to say it, and basic tools in terms of managing that brand. Like I mentioned, it's a tool. However, let me flip it a bit. Brand management is basically a smaller circle. So if I'm going to draw a circle, PR is a bigger circle, and brand management is a smaller circle within PR itself. So for managing a brand, let me just use let me just use brand management, for example. You hear I'm the brand manager of maybe random product of Close Up, or brand manager of Fan Milk or Cowbell. The brand manager will not tell you, some brand managers will tell you, I'm not a PR person. But the truth is that the brand manager has PR skills to manage that brand. Yes. When there's crisis. That brand. Exactly. He will definitely call the PR person, but he has some basic skills. So look at it like this. Right. For me, brand management, which is a subset of public relations, that's the truth. What companies are now doing in 9 to 5, they call it MCC. So when you hear MCC, that's marketing communications. Sorry, MCC, that's marketing and corporate communications. So what they've done is they've added the PR person in there, added the brand manager in there, and they've added maybe one or two aspects, which includes the digital guys and of course the IT guys. So I didn't even mention the IT. The truth is, the PR person works closely with so many units to get things done. So so that's it. I hope I've been able to address that.
Right. Yeah, I think you did a great job at distinguishing and and handling that, which is what I think you sort of have answered the second question when we talked about she's a digital marketer. Some companies expect you to manage content creation. I think we talked about that people always try and take advantage, and they always try and merge the different roles. And so what do you, maybe you want to reiterate that?
Yes. So the truth is that there are different factors that affect this, right? Sometimes the size of the organization. Sometimes it takes a lot to actually convince maybe human resource professionals on what is structure. As a PR person, it's important to work closely with the HR team, because you definitely have an aspect of internal communications as part of your job description. So it's up to you to actually convince them that this is how the structure should be. Truth is that when it's a small organization, you tend to do more things that are not necessarily your primary part of your job description.
Assignment role, yes.
So exactly. So for example, I was a digital marketer in two of the organizations I worked, digital marketing executive. But by the time I got in there, because he saw this guy is writing NIPR exams, he has public relations knowledge. Let him work closely with the head of PR, right? But what I did was, with digital marketing, I focused more on digital PR online. And that is a tool for PR. So, like you mentioned, as digital marketers, some organizations actually expect you to manage content creation. Well, you could, depending on the size, but as you get bigger, you understand as the company gets larger, maybe you change on that company or grow with that company, you would now find out that the job, you now have specialization in getting more efficiency out of getting the job done.
Okay. Awesome. Okay, let's run through this next question from Tochi Sports Lounge. I think a PR person is someone of many parts: an image maker, image protector, negotiator. Is this true? Would you say this is true?
Yes, very true. I like the word image protector. Just you call us you were like the superheroes in terms of like saving the day with regards to crisis management when things are really smooth. The truth is that many companies don't really appreciate PR when there's no crisis. When there's crisis, that's when they quickly appreciate PR. So you're right. Image maker, image protector, negotiator. I mean, with negotiation aspect, the PR person works with the legal team. Image protector, the person he works with the branding team. Image maker, he works with the branding team. So, like I mentioned, you're a little bit of everything in getting things done.
Right, absolutely, so true. All right, if you have any more questions, we haven't got too much time. I'm going to let Oluwadamilola leave in a bit. But if you have questions, use the question box. I think someone made a comment earlier. Dalapo. Oludolapo. She says, shout out to you, Damilola. You opened my eyes to getting NIPR certification 4 years ago. Remember that conversation? What does it take to get NIPR? What do if I wanted to get NIPR, Damilola? What do I need to do?
It's straightforward. So there's a website. Once you Google NIPR Nigeria, you'll see details. But the first thing is, if you're a graduate of mass communication from any Nigerian tertiary institution, then you definitely have a waiver on some courses, right? Before it was straightforward in terms of once you've finished, all you have to do is go get a certificate. But things have changed. The structure has changed, and then once you actually once you actually finish from mass communication or graduate from mass communication from a university or even polytechnic, you can actually have some waivers in terms of those courses. However, if you're a newbie, like I was a newbie, and I remember because I was afraid of writing all the 10 exams back then, I'll take like 3, I'll write them, wait a bit, take like 4, write a bit, because it wasn't easy for me to apply things theoretically, but it was easy for me to practicalize the skills I had actually developed. So, like I mentioned, that's it. It's easy. For you to get certificate. That's for Nigeria. Internationally, it's almost the same. There's another part I didn't mention, experience. So there's also some level of waivers you can actually have based on having long-term experience. Meanwhile, the experience would have to translate to the fact that you need to probably take some course modules or trainings to actually get certification, because you obviously have an edge in terms of getting one leg in through the door, in terms of maybe you're trying to get to 95 and they see you have some professional qualification. Because professional qualification and experience will stand you out from many people that will just say, oh, I do PR, and all that, unless it's strong referrals. So that's it.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Phenomenal. All right. So I think we have one more question. Let's take this. Okay. So she says, what's the career path and career growth for PR in Nigeria and international? That's a great question to land. So I think if we can have a go with it. What's the career path and career growth for PR in Nigeria? This was one of those questions that your father will ask you. Because in a few years, I mean, what are the metrics to say I've grown in this career?
Yes, so some will go straight to the point and say, career growth, salary. But it's not totally true, right?
No.
Not totally true. Okay. So sometimes you need to get some level of experience. Sometimes you even need to go down to come up. You need to probably take a pay cut to come up. But let me take it from the scratch. I've mentioned in terms of the career path, in terms of how I made a conscious effort to make that transition from customer service through digital marketing to PR slash brand communication, right? And in that perspective, there was an effort towards a career path. You can only move to that career path once you made a conscious effort in applying your skills, in applying your experience, which you get along the way. Sometimes it starts with internship and also qualifications, skills, qualifications, experience. Those are the three parameters. Sometimes two can happen at the same time, sometimes one after the other. But at the end of the day, the goal is that long-term career path, which you can attain if only you try. There will be bubbles along the way, but just look at them as speed bumps, right? But in terms of the growth in Nigeria, many years ago, well, and still in some companies, I'm looking at it from a corporate perspective. A PR person will just come in, make noise with what he's writing or what he's saying, write speech for Oga, and that's it. And then he goes home, and that's fine. Or he gives this person this amount of money to actually put in the press, and that's fine. But the world has changed. You need to actually hone your skills. You need to get into the new PR, digital, tech. That's it. You need to actually so before it was unidirectional. Now PR is now multi-directional because it's now that's and by multi-directional, it means that you sometimes need to look at it from the perspective of, yes, I know generic PR. Now, can I stay within this niche? People know me within this niche or within this industry, because what that would do is stand you out from the next PR person to make you stand out compared to maybe a generic person. So yes, there's growth in Nigeria internationally. The growth in Nigeria may not be as fast as the international perspective, but it's definitely there. And like I mentioned, once you have the skills as a PR person, well, no career path is perfect. But if you get in and you don't like it, guess what? Some of the skills can make you go into sister-related subsets, right? So you come into PR for some years, you now find out that maybe you actually are becoming more passionate with digital marketing. From digital PR, you can get from digital marketing, you go to digital PR. If you come in, you actually find out that I am passionate about speaking. You feel that you actually have the skills to speak more effectively and people love your voice. You can be a voiceover personality and also an on-air personality, radio, journalism, right? So once you hone these skills, so PR has become multifaceted, and there's no more unidirectional. There's no more a knife. It's actually a three-pronged fork. So that's it.
Right. Wow, phenomenal. Oh my goodness. Wow. Thank you very much. Big shout out to Distinct Diva. It looks like you've been here from the beginning. Thank you for staying through to the end. Thank you to everyone for coming. I just also wanted to add, we're talking about making that career transition into PR. I think it's also important to mention volunteering. Being a member of some organizations like Nigerian Men in PR, for example. Like I said, I became a volunteer about a year ago, and I cannot begin to tell you how much benefits I have reaped from, just being, around people who are the OGs in PR, like Tulu or Lauren Darrow. Just watching her, just being around her, for me, it's elevated me in so many ways. So being a member, being a volunteer, so you can use the link in bio. I know a lot of people are here because of Oluwadamilola. I know a lot of your fans are here, so please follow us as well at Nigerian Men in PR. Go to our link in bio, follow our social media. We're always posting content to help inspire and elevate people in PR and communications. And so I think they're going to get a lot of benefit from following us, not just following us, be a volunteer, be a member, because if you want to transition to a different career path, it's important to start by put your leg in, test the waters by being a volunteer before you dive in and get the job in PR, right?
Sure. It's such an amazing platform. I was at Africa Next, formerly known as Social Media Week, and watching Tolu speak, I just kept on smiling. Although there was a time she picked, it was so amazing because there's something I want to mention. Many years ago, PR was for the men. Now the world has changed. I'm really sure if you look around, 70% are ladies.
Yes, a lot of women.
Great things. Women are doing great things.
And that's why Tolu founded Nigerian Men in PR. She wanted to bridge that gap. And I'm glad, I'm so proud of her because she's been successful in sort of bringing more people to see that this is not just a man's job. A lot of women are doing PR now. And it's because people like Tolu the pioneers, you know, in this field, decide to just be excellent at it. So absolutely applaud her. And I want to thank you, Damilola, for coming on board with us today on PR and More. We've learned so much. As you can see, so many questions and so many people in here today. Thank you so much for sharing your, you know, your journey with us and sharing, you know, your path with us. We really appreciate you, Damilola. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for hosting me and having me. I really appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. All right. Thank you for everyone who's joined us. Thank you so much once again. It's been a great pleasure to host this edition of PR More. Join us in 2 weeks where we have another exciting guest. And we're going to be talking about something different from PR, because we called it PR More because it's not just about PR. So join us next time for another interesting conversation. But thank you once again, Dami. Yes, please thank Dami and I appreciate him for coming here. Volunteer registration is closed. We'll open it back up. So just keep your ears out for when volunteer registration will be back open for Nigerian in PR. Follow us. I think the most important thing is follow us on Twitter, follow us on LinkedIn, follow us on Instagram, follow us on all of the platforms. You can get first-hand information on how to be a volunteer or a member. So make sure you definitely follow us. That's how you hear when we open up registration for volunteers and members. So that's definitely a fact. So once again, thank you, Damilola. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. Oh, Tolu's in the house.
Thank you very much.
Hey, Tolu.
Yeah, thanks, Tolu.
Yes, thank you very much, everybody. We're going to put this up on our YouTube. So make sure you also, of course, subscribe to our YouTube channel, Nigerian Men in PR on YouTube. You'll get the playback of this video on our YouTube channel. So make sure to follow us on all of our platforms. Follow us on YouTube, subscribe. And of course, you watch this video back on our channel. Thank you, Tommy. Tommy's here as well. Good to have you. Yetunde is here as well. All of the Nigerian Men in PR people. We appreciate all the people in the back end that make this possible. Thank you all so much. Thank you, Anita, as well. Thank you, everybody, for being a part of this. So, all right, see you next time, Damilola. Have a wonderful evening, everyone. My name is Ronke Giwa Onafuwa. It's been great hosting this session. Till next time, when I come back your way, enjoy your evening. Goodbye.
All right, thank you, Ronke. All right, bye.
Bye.